Hi guys, this is Rick. I'm one of the Memorez team. Thanks very much for viewing this video. Memorez is a fairly comprehensive platform. It's been designed to be able to capture all kinds of memories and stories from your past using music, text, images, imported photographs, and so on and so forth. So it's a pretty comprehensive but a very simple system to utilize once you've got the hang of it. So when you basically log in, this is essentially, that becomes your home page, and the idea is that you can add at any time thoughts, comments, memories, stories to any of these particular tags. So before we get to that, I might just basically talk to you a little bit about the sharing arrangement. So when you establish your account, there are a number of things that you'd like to be able to do. So obviously you have your sign-in credentials, the ability to change the password, and so on and so forth. Now down here is a very interesting part of Memorez. When we were developing Memorez, we were thinking about the fact that there are some memories that you would possibly be happy to share with everybody. There may be other memories that you would only be prepared to share with certain third parties, or in fact maybe some memories that you would just like to have locked away for a predetermined period. So what we've done in Memorez is to effectively introduce a system of a time capsule, or concept of a time capsule. So with your credentials, you can keep your time capsule locked, and I'll show you how that works shortly. Period. It can be released if you're not, if you haven't accessed Memorez for longer than 3 months, or 6 months, or 12 months. So you can preset every single memory that you create in the platform. So that's the time capsule. The sharing function is obviously very important, because here is where you will the place where you'll articulate who you want to be able to share the memories, and what credentials you can give them to actually look at your Memorez pages. So I'll just, for example, put in that I'd like to be able to share my memories with Gay. Her email address is gay@memorez.org. And what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like Gay to be able to comment, or to be able to add, to view, comment, or add are the three options. So I'd like actually Gay to be able to comment on my memories. So I'll add her to that group of people that can comment, and you can see here that she's now been added. She can comment. Now the add function, or the add credentials, where somebody that can not only comment on a timeline or a memory or a story that you've created, but in fact they can create a memory. They have the credentials to create a memory in your account. So what that means is that if I was out today and I suddenly recalled going to a concert when we were at college, and I knew Gary, I was connected up to Gary on Memorez, I could come home and get an image of that concert, and basically share it with Gary on his account and ask him if he remembered, and so on. So it's a really great feature, the ability for people to be able to add memories and so on. But people can only view, they can comment, or they can add. So there's a lot of discretion around what people that you invite, or who you invite to view your memories, and so on. So the sharing is obviously a very important function of Memorez. Okay, here we have essentially a help button, and for those of you that prefer to look at these things pictorially rather than on videos like this, then essentially here's a user's guide to be able to set up Memorez, and it's pretty straightforward to follow. Personally, I'm someone that prefers to watch videos, but for some of you, my wife is one of those people, they absolutely love to be able to follow instructions in an image form. So okay, so back to home, and we'll get into the nitty gritty. So one of the features in Memorez is the ability to have memory prompts about particular issues. So my childhood has fairly high amount of content in it currently, and I'll show you that shortly, but let's look at one that doesn't. So we'll go to dreams for argument's sake. So here what we've got is a memory prompt, effectively. So what was the earliest dream you can remember of what you wanted to be? So the earliest thing I really wanted to be was an astronaut. So if I then save that, it's actually started to create a timeline. So I dreamt of being an astronaut. Now I can add a memory about being an astronaut. So I can either write a story about that, and so let's call the title of that story Dreams of Spaceflight. And I can then, if I want to, write text about, you know, where I was the day that Neil Armstrong first walked on the moon, which in my case was in the UK, and it was, I don't know what time, it was dark, and my parents got me up, and I just have memories of you know, watching Neil Armstrong come down the Apollo 11 ladder and so on. But you know, again, I was very young. So I can write a story about that. I can in fact record a video about it. I could sit here right now, press record, and talk to the camera and talk about how that impacted on me, or what my thoughts were, or the experience of that particular event. So we have the ability to record a video here. And here's actually something that we felt was really important. So one of the things that we're cognizant of is that a lot of people don't have many photographs. So in fact, I would be a typical example of that. I think I probably only have 5 or 10 photographs from my childhood, and essentially stories are impressions. That, you know, so the idea of relating an image to an impression is really important. So for argument's sake, my first pet that I can remember was a golden retriever called Goldie, but I have no images of her. So, but what I can do internally here in Memorez is that I can do a search for a golden retriever. Click this particular search bar. Okay, and it's thrown up a whole raft of images of golden retrievers. Now this one looks probably the most similar to Goldie. And now I can just put a golden retriever, excuse the capitals, a golden retriever was my first pet. So I want to save that, so I'll save that now, and it's actually added to that timeline about a golden retriever and so on and so forth. So if I want to do something about an astronaut, again on that timeline, and I might call that again Dreams of Spaceflight, I'll search for something familiar. So we'll see if we can find Neil Armstrong, who was the first man on the moon, unless you believe the conspiracy theorists, of course. So Neil Armstrong, let's see if we can find an image of Neil. Okay, there we go. So obviously in his latter years. So, and I could basically just go, this guy was my hero when I was a child. Exclamation mark. And I'll save that, and it's added Neil to that timeline. And if I click on it, I can see really what it was about. So if you remember, I was talking about the ability to lock memories a little bit earlier on. So you can in fact now lock this particular memory if we want to. You can see that the icon has moved from a closed padlock to an open padlock, and I can change it back again if I want to. So any memory can effectively be locked or opened at any time that you wish. So, and again, so okay, the next question, what's the dream for your life? You know, happiness, wellness, and social resolve. So if I save that, it's actually now created that particular memory lane. So my live stream is happiness, wellness, and to have social resolve. So if I want to add a memory to this, I might think about, okay, so who else had a dream? So Tyler 3, who else had a dream? And for me, growing up in the 60s, very early recollection of Martin Luther King. So I'd like to be able to find an image of Martin Luther King. And I might want to add that to my timeline. So let's find one that I like. And in fact, this is the same thing. This guy was, this particular story relates to Neil Armstrong, but in fact it's true for me for this guy as well. So he really was my hero. And you can see that it's added Martin Luther King to the timeline. So the great thing about Memorez is that if you don't have many pictures from your childhood, then you can basically use the search function here in Memorez to find something that was important to you as a child. And in fact, I'll use another example of how that works. So, I'm going to add a memory, and I'm going to try and find the village that I grew up in before I went to boarding school. So I'm going to look for Munford, Norfolk. Okay, great. So it's actually showing me, I would probably be pretty much aware of all of these buildings. That's the pub in the village, and I might put something like, had my first drink here. I'm not going to tell you how old I was at that time. But basically, the great thing is, as I say, if you don't have many pictures or photographs or whatever, then effectively you can utilize this search function to bring in pictures that relate to the memory. In fact, it's interesting as well. One of the things that that we've done is that, let's say, for argument's sake, take the year that you were born. So so I might just put 1963. Okay, and then I might go and see if there's anything that we can find in 1963 that was important in the world or related to that particular year. Okay, right, so that Corvette came out in 1963. Doctor Who came out in 1963. So again, you can pin any of these things to that particular memory lane. So for argument's sake, if I wanted to pin about Doctor Who, scared the life out of me when I was small, which it did. It used to absolutely frighten the living daylights out of me, and particularly the Cybermen for some reason. And for probably 2 or 3 years, I was terrified every night that I went to bed that they were coming up the stairs. So this is just giving you a little flavor of the kind of things that you can add to your memories. So here are the questions. You don't have to complete all the questions. You can move on. You can ask me something else, and basically the questions will keep coming. But that gives you a little idea of what you can add. The videos, obviously, please use the videos. Feel free to to tell the stories into the camera. You could also just use the audio function if you're a little bit camera shy, but really your families are going to love to see you talking to the video. Get your family engaged on Skype, for argument's sake, is another way to encourage people to use the video story module, but we see that as being really a useful function. One of the other things that we felt when we were developing Memorez was what resonates really is music. Traditionally, music is something that everybody remembers where they were when a certain piece of music was in the charts, or whatever. And we felt that obviously having a music component to this was really quite important. So what we did is our very clever boffins basically, under the Find Something Familiar, have created a music search and play function. So for me, growing up in the late 60s, very early 70s, it was really a choice of, hard-edged, sort of rock, Led Zeppelin style music, or more the folk stuff. And I was more of a folk singer or a folk lover than a sort of rock and roll sort of guy. So, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I really liked John Denver. So, apologies to those of you that don't. So, what I can do here in Memorez is I can basically go and find the John Denver album. I can search for John Denver, and I can say, okay, that was one that I remember when I was a kid, and I'm going to pin that, and I'm going to say, love this guy when I was young. And in fact, I still do, much to my embarrassment, but anyhow. So I can save that, and it will throw John up here. Now here's the really trick bit that the guys have done. When you click onto that album, it actually shows you here all of the singles that were in that particular album, and so you can actually play. If I turn this on, I can hear it through the speaker here. You guys won't be able to hear it, but it's actually playing the Eagle and the Hawk, and I can change it and listen to Sunshine on My Shoulders. So this basically lasts for about 30 seconds, so it gives you a grab of that particular music that you really loved when you were growing up, or in a later period, or resonated through a certain part of your life. But we see it as I'm really proud of what the guys have put together here, and for all of us, it really resonates very strongly, the ability to track music down. So you can see how you can start to build basically a timeline, as we call them, a timeline or a memory lane across all of these kind of things. So there's no end to how many memories you can how many memories you can incorporate. We can keep adding memories, and effectively it will go off the screen. I'll just give you another example. So we'll choose that one and just load it, and you can see now the little orange bar has appeared, and you can just scroll along and effectively just keep going ad nauseum. So you can see how we're starting to build now basically the stories around the various parts and biographies of your life. So if we go back to the thought cloud, we can look at, for argument's sake, my childhood. I was born in the UK, family house. I've done a very short video. I actually imported my picture upside down. Same thing for getting married, of course. But you get the idea that basically you can end up with a very substantive amount of memories, and each one obviously you can click on and expand that. Well, my favourite program when I was a kid was the Two Ronnies, and Ronnie Barker was definitely my favourite comedian at home in England. Favourite childhood movies. As a child, I grew up in Kent. This was the part of my boarding school. Here were the in the grounds were the actual classes, and we had this huge walled garden and so on and so forth. And it is fascinating because when you start to go back through these things, you forget an awful lot you have forgotten an awful lot of things that have happened to you in your life. So for argument's sake, again, this is another picture of the boarding school. I attended from age 5 to 8. So anybody that wants to share or comment can add a comment, and that will then show up in this particular timeline. But very funny things happened when I was there. We had cream come to the boarding school. One of the guys was the son of one of my house parents. They came and did a performance on the second lawn, and of course they were one of the first super groups. and I was actually crook that particular day and never heard anything about it. And they were, you know, one of the most famous groups in the world in 72 or 71, whenever they arrived. The Queen, again, our boarding school was owned by members of her family. Lord Mountbatten and Lord Brabourne. We met her one afternoon when we were all fishing. So everybody has these kinds of memories, and it is very interesting when you sit down and you start to actually go through the memory lanes, and you start to fill out, you know, the things that you suddenly remembered using the prompts, because the questions really are only there to drive that initial, oh yes, that was actually, I remember that happened, or I remember, you know, yeah, where, you know, was I happy as a kid, did this happen, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, it's a system that's very simple to use, but very powerful. So again, you can share with whoever you want. They can view, they can comment, and they can add memories. You can change the locked in profile. There's the help here, and obviously hopefully this video will give you a bit of an overview as well. We will do some very specific videos also on establishing and setting up and ways to really use and get the best out of the platform. We're always keen for feedback on better ways to develop Memorez and new services and applications and so on. And you know, there's an old saying that you know, software is never really finished. It's always in development, and we certainly have some exciting things that we will be looking to roll out over the next number of months, and obviously we'll keep everybody up to speed as those new modules and extra services and functions come on stream. So look, I hope that that's given you a bit of an overview of how Memorez works. Again, you know, we will do some dedicated shorter videos to give you possibly a slightly more comprehensive view of individual bits. But basically, that's the platform. We're delighted that you've become part of the Memorez family. Everybody's memories are important, and you know, we love to hear from people. We love feedback, and we're very happy that you've joined. And I think that's probably it. So we'll catch you next time. Any questions, feel free to contact us. Absolutely not a problem at all. Okay, guys, thank you. Bye.